What's up, guys? I hope you're having a good night, day, morning, evening, whatever you're doing. I hope you're doing it good. So today we're looking at the Coolpix P1000. This is Nikon's new super zoom point and shoot camera that boasts a 24 to 3000 millimeter zoom. So it's likely the only reason someone would pick up the P1000 is because of its zoom capabilities. The P1000 is massive. It's huge. It's a lot bigger than any other point and shoot camera out on the market, at least here in 2018. It's about double the size of my Panasonic FZ80, which has a 1200 millimeter zoom. So just for some comparison, let's put the FZ80 and the P1000 side by side and check out the differences. P1000 has a 1/2.3 inch sensor, or 1/2.3 inch sensor, so it's a pretty tiny sensor. It's about the equivalent to most high-end smartphone cameras. However, a smartphone is lacking the 125 times optical zoom. The P1000 takes 16 megapixel photos and has an aperture range of f2.8 to f11 and an ISO range of 125 to 6400. As for video, the P1000 shoots in 4K at 30 frames per second and 25 frames per second, and 1080p at 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. And there is a recording limit of 30 minutes, so after every 30 minutes you'll need to end the recording or it will stop automatically and you'll have to start recording again. You do have a few different shooting options. You have auto, but you also can do manual. You can get full manual controls over ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, and you can switch between autofocus and manual focus and use the focus ring to really tune in on your subject. In the box you get the camera itself, a camera strap, a wall charger and a charging cable, a tiny battery, and a lens hood. Now on the bottom of the camera is where you'll find the battery door and the SD card slot. The only way to charge the battery is with the camera and the included wall adapter. So below the power port you have a HDMI output, and below that you have a remote port, so you could hook up like a wired remote. At the very top you have a microphone port, so you can hook up an external microphone. Now the P1000 does have an articulating screen. You can spin it around and put it at lots of different angles, but I do like the fact that it does have an HDMI output, so you could watch it on a monitor, or you can view it even on like a TV as you're watching whatever you're watching. Now one thing I did notice is that you cannot use an external monitor and use the camera screen at the same time, so it's either one or the other. So there's two different levers to zoom in on the P1000. You have the top lever and you have the side lever. The top lever is a much faster zoom, where the side lever is more of a slower zoom. So next to the side zoom lever, you have a quick zoom out feature. So when you hit this, it will zoom out quickly and it will allow you to position your, your framing, and then you let go and it will zoom back in. The P1000 has 4 different vibration reduction modes or stabilization type modes. But you're still going to want to pick up a tripod, especially when you're zooming way in, like 3,000 millimeters. Even like slight wind can make, quite a bit of vibration on this. But the vibration detection does work decent. I mean, when you're going handheld, they say to shut it off when you're on the tripod. It just depends on, I guess, what you're shooting, if you're going to be tracking something, whether you want to leave it on or not. So you can kind of experiment with those 4 to see what best works for you. You can connect the P1000 to your smartphone via the app SnapBridge. The app allows you to transfer photos to your phone as well as live view. You can zoom in and out via your smartphone, but it's not smooth at all. It zooms in increments, and then it will stop after each increment that it zooms in, and then it will continue on. So it's not like a smooth zoom whatsoever. So they do sell a separate Bluetooth remote for the camera, and it allows you to zoom in and zoom out and control like aperture and shutter speed. I'm not 100% sure if it would allow you to adjust focus if you were adjusting manually, but if it did, I would definitely recommend picking one of these up, because it would just make your footage so much smoother and stable. First pro that I like about this camera is that it's a 3,000 millimeter zoom, and it's the longest zoom that I know all of in one camera that's available, so that's pretty cool. Number 2 is the HDMI output. I like being able to see the footage on a bigger monitor, especially when you're trying to get dialed in on your subject. Makes it a lot easier. They have a mic jack, that's cool. A lot of times though, when you're zooming in 3,000, you're not going to really use the audio unless it's kind of for ambient noise. But I do like that they have an articulating screen. That just makes it easy, so if you do have it tilted up, you don't have to keep looking up. You can just kind of tilt the screen any way you need to. Now, as for some of the cons, they could have made the screen a touch screen, kind of like tap focus. That would have been nice. And also, it does have a small sensor, so it's not the best in low light, but it's whatever. The zoom is pretty smooth. If you get the remote, I'm sure it will be much more smoother, but there's still some hiccups when you're zooming in and out. It's not going to be 100% like super smooth. Then there's the recording limit. You do have 29 minutes of recording, then you'd have to stop it and hit record again. And last but not least, this thing is it's big. It's really big to carry around. And I guess this is what you deal with having a 3,000 millimeter zoom. So let's check out some more sample footage, and I put a link to this one in the description. Also, I have a review on the Panasonic FZ80 if you want to check that camera out. I've gotten that camera, when I bought it, it was less than $300. This one currently is $999, so a huge price difference there. So look into that camera if you don't want to spend $1,000 for a camera. So that's that, and thanks for watching.